Hey guys, welcome to my video. And in this video, I'll be talking about Telnet and SSH and how these two protocols are useful in gaining remote access of any system or server, and how we can access the command line terminal of a router using any remote device or any remote system. So my name is Akshat Dikshit, and I'm a third year BTech CSE student. The thing that I'm going to be discussing in this video is that how we Telnet and SSH can be configured on the router using Cisco Packet Tracer, and I'll also demonstrate how we can gain a remote access of the command line interface of the router using both the commands or both the protocols. So now the first we'll talk about Telnet, and Telnet is basically a network protocol used for remote terminal access to servers and other networking devices with a command line interface. Using this protocol or network protocol, we can access the command line interface of other devices using some remote system. Or this provides us with various features. For example, remote access with Telnet, that is simulating the physical presence. So basically, with the help of Telnet, we can access remotely access any device or any server or router without actually being present at the location of that device. Therefore, it simulates the physical presence of that device. The second feature, we can say that text-based command and response. The Telnet allows the users to interact with the remote devices using text-based commands, and all the response that is received is also in the form of text. Now, there are some disadvantages of the Telnet, as in Telnet, there is no encryption, and the communication that happens between the two parties is not safe, since the communication is not encrypted at all. Hence, these are some drawbacks of the Telnet. Now, I'll move on to the demonstration, where I'll demonstrate how we can remotely access the command line terminal of a router using some remote system. So let's hop on to the Cisco Packet Tracer. So now we know what Telnet is all about and how we can use Telnet to gain the access of any remote system. Now I demonstrate using the Cisco Packet Tracer that how we can configure Telnet onto the router, and how we can access the command line interface of the router using any remote system or any PC. So first we'll form a topology using the router, the switches, and the remote systems that will be our PCs. So now I'll take three PCs over here. Now we'll make connections of all with one another. So make sure that we are connecting the fast Ethernet with the fast Ethernet 0/0 port. We are connecting the router with the switch. So in the same way, we'll connect all of them to the switch. We'll connect all of the PCs. So now our topology is ready. Now we'll give each of the PC an IP. We'll just click on the PC and we'll go on to the IP configuration terminal, and we'll provide an IP. Suppose I'm giving this PC an IP of 10.1.1.1.2 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. So now I've given the IP to this PC. In the same way, I'll provide the IP to the rest of the PCs as well. So now I'm done providing IP to each of the PCs, and the respective IPs that I provided I have mentioned here also. Now the next task is to configure our router so as to work with the Telnet, or to configure Telnet onto the router. The first and the most major step is to provide an IP to the router as well. So we'll click on the router and go into the command line interface of the router, and we'll say that initial configuration dialog we don't have to do, so no. Then router has three modes: the user mode. So currently we are in the user mode. Then there is enable mode or privilege mode, and then there is the configuration. The configuration mode is our area of concern, where we'll provide all the configurations to the router. So to go into the enable mode, we'll type the command ena. For configuration mode, we'll type the command conft. Now we are in the configuration mode. Here we know that we have connected our router with the switch from the port fast Ethernet 0/0. So we'll access that Ethernet. So int fa 0/0 will go on to that interface. Now we are into that interface. Now we'll add or provide an IP to this router. So for that, IP add command we'll use. 10.1.1.1, 255.255.255.0. So this is the IP that I'm providing, and this is the subnet mask. Now no shut command. So now the interface pass Ethernet 0/0 has been changed to the upstate. Now we'll exit this. Now again we are in the configuration mode. Now in Telnet, in router is known as VTY, which is also stands for virtual terminal, and the command to configure Telnet onto the router is line VTY, which gets us to the line interface. Line VTY, then we have a base number, and then how many PCs or remote systems that can simultaneously access the command line interface of our router. So let me provide it one. So this 01 signifies that at a time only two PCs can simultaneously access the command line interface of the router. Now we are in the line terminal or line interface. So here we will provide a password for the telnet. So I'm providing it with the NIIT password, and this password is for login. And now we are done configuring the telnet onto our router. So now I'll provide a secret password to our enable mode or the privilege mode. So for that we have a command enasec. Then I'm giving my name as the secret password. So secret password is encrypted and is stored in an encrypted form. So I've done that also. So now we are done with the command interface of the router and configuring the router. Now we'll move on to the PC and we'll go into the command prompt of the PC. Here first we'll see that either the connections are done properly or not. So I'll try to ping. Now we are on PC 0, and from this we'll try to ping another PC or another remote system. So say 10.1.1. So as you can see that we are receiving a reply. So all the connections are done properly. Now in order to gain the access of the command line interface of the router using telnet, we'll use the command telnet and then the IP of the router. So we have provided the router with the IP 10.1.1.1. So now it's asked for user access verification. This is the password that we have given to the router as the telnet password after we have given the command line vty01. So the password is an IIT. So now voila, we are into the command line interface of the router. So we have the access of the router with us. So now we can go into the enable mode. So here we can type Akshat, like I have given the secret password of the enable mode as Akshat. Now we are in the enable mode. So now after we light the conft, now we are in the configuration mode of that router. But what the thing is open on our PC is basically the command prompt of our remote system. So now we can change the host name also. So suppose I can give the host name as my name. So the host name has been changed from Akshat, from router to Akshat. So we can see this change will also reflect on the router as well. So here we can see that after hitting enter, voila, the name of the host has been changed from router to Akshat, and we haven't done anything on the command line interface of the router itself, but we have gained the access of the command line interface of the router through another remote system, and we have accessed and changed the host name. So we can see that we can gain access from PC1 also. But you can remember that using the command line vty01, we stated that at max only two PCs can be or two remote systems can simultaneously access the CLI of the router. So now if we go on to the third PC and we'll write the same command, now we'll see something different. Yeah, we can see that connection to 10.1.1 closed by foreign hosts. So now we can see that at max the telnet command only allowing us to connect only two different hosts or two different remote systems, and as soon as we try to connect a third host or foreign host to our access the command line interface, we cannot do so. So this is all the practical of how we can configure the telnet onto a router and how we can access the CLI of the router using any remote system. So now we'll move on to the SSH part, and I'll discuss about what basically SSH is and how SSH is more beneficial as compared to telnet, and then we'll go on to the practical of SSH also in the same way as we have done for the telnet. Let's shift our focus to another network protocol, that's SSH. Now, just like Telnet, SSH is also a network protocol that is used for gaining remote terminal access to any server and to any other networking devices using a remote system. Now, I explained earlier that in Telnet, the communication that happens between the client and server is not secure, and there is no encryption between the data that is being transmitted. Therefore, it is prone to many cyber attacks and has its security concerns. But on the other hand, the SSH network protocol is way more secure as compared to Telnet. Now, SSH is stands for Secure Shell, and it is a cryptographic network protocol that is used for secure remote access. Now, here the word secure is quite important. So, secure remote access to servers and other networking devices with a command line interface. Through SSH, we can remotely access the command line terminal of any other networking device, for example, routers, that we're going to see in the practical part of this SSH. Now, SSH provides us with various features, and some of them are mentioned now that I'm going to be explained. So the first feature is that SSH provides us with secure remote communication, and provides us with secure authentication and data encryption. So the data communication between the client and server using SSH is encrypted, and which prevents various cyber attacks like eavesdropping and other security concerns that were present with the telnet. It also provides us with security, customizable security settings. Since SSH supports various encryption algorithms and key exchange methods, we can choose any of them as per our security requirements. So the next point is SSH provides us with secure protocol tunneling. Now SSH provides the users to securely tunnel other protocols such as HTTP, FTP, RDP over the secured or encrypted SSH communication. It also supports port forwarding for secure data transfer. So that's a brief about what SSH is all about, and we can conclude that SSH is basically an improvised version of Telnet with much more security as compared to Telnet, but the functionality remains quite a bit similar. Now I'll hop on to my Cisco Packet Tracer and will demonstrate that how we can use the SSH protocol to gain a remote access of the command line interface of a router, and how we can configure the SSH onto the router. So I'll meet you at the Cisco Packet Tracer. So now I'm on my Cisco Packet Tracer, and now I'll demonstrate that how we can configure the SSH protocol onto our router, and how we can get the remote access of the command line interface of the router using a remote system. So we'll begin with forming the topology for our practical. We'll take this time only a single router and a PC to demonstrate how we can configure SSH over the router, and how we can access its command line interface. So I'll do it quickly. So now I have created my topology, and now we'll begin with the configurations. The first step is we'll provide this PC with an IP. Just like before, I'll give an IP to this PC. So now I'm done providing this PC with an IP, and the IP that I provided to this PC is 10.1.1.2. Now, after I have provided the IP to this PC, now I'll begin my configurations onto the router. So we'll just click on the router and go into the CLI mode of the router. Now here, just like before, the first step will be to provide an IP to this router. So we have connected the router with a PC through the interface of fast Ethernet 0/0. So we'll go into that interface, and then we'll provide the IP to this router. And before doing that, we'll also provide the enable secret password to the router, which I will be giving as NIIT, and we'll also change the host name of this router from router to R1. So I'll just quickly get on with it, and then we'll move on to configuration of the SSH. So now I have provided an enable secret password of NIIT to this router. I have also provided an IP. Now we'll change the host name of this router to R1. So now the host name has been changed to R1. Now we'll provide a domain name, it.in, and after that we'll create a new user. So I'm creating a new user using the command username. I'm giving the name of the user as Akshat, and with secret password of my name itself. And after that we'll try to generate keys. Now we know that SSH is a secure algorithm for a remote access of any routers or any networking device terminal or a command line interface, and it uses various encryption algorithms. So the encryption algorithm that we are going to use here is RSA. So we'll generate RSA keys for it using the command crypto key generate RSA. Now it will be asking that how many bits of keys we need to generate. So the length of the key. So by default it's 512, but we'll provide it with 1024. After this, we can see that a command is prompting that generating 1024 bit RSA keys, and we also see that SSH5 has been enabled on this system. Now, after we are done doing this, our next step will be to configure the SSH. Now, in the same way that Telnet has been configured using the VTY command or virtual terminal command, here we also use the virtual terminal command. But in order to tell the router that we are trying to configure SSH, we use an extra command, that is transport input, which tells that the input that we are trying to use or configure the SSH protocol onto the router. We'll type the command line vty 0 and 1, which states that at most only two PCs or two remote systems can access the command line interface of the router, of this router basically, uh, using the SSH protocol. So now we are into the line interface, and here we will write transport input SSH, and after that login log. Now we are basically done configuring the SSH protocol onto our router. So let's go on to the command prompt of that PC. So now we are on the command prompt of our PC0. Here we'll try to access the command line interface or CLI of the router using the SSH protocol. So the command for it is SSHL. Then we'll define the user that we are going to choose. So earlier I have defined a user with my name, that is Akshat, and after that we'll give the IP of the router. Now it's asking for the password, so I'll provide it with the password, and voila, we are into the command line interface of the router. But we are still on the command prompt of our PC. Hence, we have gained the remote access of that router's command line interface using this remote system by SSH protocol. Now, after enable, now we are into the enable mode, and we can also get the access of the configuration mode, and here we can change the name of the host to Akshat. Now if we tend to go into the CLI of the router and hit enter, voila, we can see that the name of the host has been changed to Akshat, which we basically have done using the remote system by accessing the CLI of this router. Now if we go into the configuration terminal of this router and then do show users command, then we can see that using the SSH, which is VTY, Akshat user has been connected 30 seconds earlier. So we can see that we have made the connections, and just one more thing I want to tell, that the domain that we have stated here, this is the thing that is related to the key generation. That's all from the practical part, and that's all for this video. I hope you guys like the video and have understood everything. So thank you so much, guys.